Have you ever wondered how Apple, Rolex, Rolls-Royce got to where they are today, commanding such a premium for their products and waiting lists and exclusivity? In this video, I will share with you top secrets how these luxury brands got where they are and how you can apply this to your own business. Let's go. Well, first, obviously, any luxury brand has to have a luxury product. It's not enough to just put the label. You actually have to sell something that people will value. And all of these brands, without exception, have quality products. They spend millions and billions of dollars in R&D. They develop the top-notch product possible. And you can do this for your product as well. You don't need billions of dollars. You just need to perfect whatever craft you have or whatever product that you're selling. Think of Apple. Apple spent a long time to perfect their iPhones. They found the right manufacturer to do their work, and they also picked all the top-notch materials. They use aluminum casing, the best glass possible, so don't cheap out when you're developing your product. Obviously, you have to know your customer base. You cannot exceed costs where it's not going to be affordable for anyone to purchase. But if your goal is to become a luxurious brand that deserves to be on top of the pyramid, then you really have to think twice before you implement a material that is second-rate. Think of longevity. You want your product to be used for a long time. So people will give you the referrals saying, my product lasted. And you will also get good reviews from customers saying that their product actually works as intended and lasts a long time. It's very essential that if it's a physical product, that the surfaces are luxurious. Let's say you're making an iPhone case. You can make that feel luxurious as well. Use the soft touch plastics, higher end materials to achieve that goal. Or let's say you're selling purses. Use the best quality leather that's available to you and make the craftsmanship top-notch. And of course, I'm going to remind you one more time, be aware of what the product is going to cost at the end of the day. The last thing you want to do is exclude everybody from being able to afford it. But then again, if your goal is to be at the top of the pyramid, maybe the price won't be that big of an issue. Now let's get to another important topic, which is timeless and classic identifiable designs. Think of every brand that I've mentioned earlier. Rolex. Every watch they make is identifiable from a mile away. Everybody knows this is a Rolex. It looks like a Rolex 10 years ago and it will look like a Rolex 10 years from now. Iconic designs really matter. You have to find that iconic design and stick to it in your design language whenever you're developing new products. Think of Apple. That notch, even though it's ugly, but everybody recognizes this is an iPhone because of this notch. The way they position the 3 cameras on the back, their logo, it's recognizable, and this is very important. Some people spend a lot of money on design patents, some people don't copy their design language, and that's not a bad idea. If you can't afford lawyers at this stage of your business, just think of a way how you can create a design that will be recognized from far away. Something that will say, this is your product. People will recognize it no matter how many variations you make. There's always going to be that unique design cue. It is essential for every company to have a design cue on their products that will remain recognizable as time moves forward. That's how you grow an audience, and you grow followers, and you grow recognition, and you grow your brand. And ideally, if you are creating a design cue for your product, try also make it an innovative one. Again, going back to the iPhone's notch. It's not just a design thing, it's also a functional piece of equipment. And they put the front-facing camera and facial recognition sensors in there, so it both serves as a functional item and a design cue that makes iPhone recognizable. Another example of a unique functional design cue is Rolex's Cyclops glass. It's the magnification piece of glass that helps you see the number of the date. Even though it's functional, it's also recognizable. It's that design piece that pretty much only Rolex employs, and everyone will recognize it as a Rolex because of the Cyclops glass. Now let's talk about manufacturing. How do you actually make a good product? As I mentioned earlier, some of these brands seek out suppliers in China or other countries that already have the infrastructure to make the item. What you want to do is look for a factory that has the necessary skills to do this, so you don't have to worry about the manufacturing process yourself. Whether it's a handmade item or it's a mass production item, you want to make sure that the team behind it that's actually assembling the product does top-notch job. You could have absolutely the best designed product, but if it's built poorly, it's going to fall apart and it's going to be worthless. Again, Focus on quality. Don't cut corners. If you want to be at the top of the game, offering the most luxurious item or service possible, don't just design a good product or service, know how you can assemble and mass produce it. That is one critical factor that a lot of businesses miss. I'll give you an example. I know an artist that can paint most magnificent paintings, but he will never be able to scale his business because he's working himself. You want to empower others to reproduce what you do. So let's say you're the top plumber in America. So what do you want to do? You want to train other people to be top plumbers. Don't be the best plumber yourself because you only have two hands. You will never be able to service a lot of customers, and your brand and business will never. You will be always bottlenecked by your own free time. But when you teach others to reproduce that service or good, then you can really serve as many customers as possible. And this is truly the key. Think of Apple again. They don't just sell one or two iPhones, they sell millions of these. Even Rolex, as expensive as it is, they make over 1 million of watches every year. So that manufacturing process or production of whatever service or good that you have has to be really thought through. The quality has to be top-notch, and it has to be repeatable and scalable. Let's move on to maybe one of the most important secrets that these brands have, and that is their brand image. That took many years to build, but once a brand image develops, it's almost impossible to compete against them. There's not too many automakers that can compete with Rolls-Royce. Maybe Bentley, but that's probably about it. And the way they did it is having the exclusivity of the name that's associated with Rolls-Royce. Same with Rolex. A lot of people walk into a Rolex store wanting to buy a watch, and it's simply not available to them. So the top brands took years to build their image, and the way they're able to maintain that image is through clever advertising and sponsorship of events and certain people or influencers. For example, Rolex often sponsors Formula One races, or Rolls-Royce, for example, will sell their cars at airplane shows and yacht shows where products cost hundreds of millions of dollars, so their brand and product immediately is associated with the top echelon of society. And let's talk about Apple. How did Apple get to build their brand? A lot of it had to do with Steve Jobs. He just created a following base. People always wait for that new innovative product that comes out of Apple, and they just have a cult following. And that's really important. When you're creating, again, product or service, think long term. If you're going to release a mediocre product today, it's going to reverberate throughout the next months and years. Don't come up with mediocre stuff. Always do your best work possible. This way, over time, you'll build a following, and your brand and company will be associated with luxury and quality. And that brand image is worth a lot. Oftentimes, when people sell their companies, first is the brand image that comes up to be in the valuation, even more so than the sales. And that high brand image will reflect in the pricing structure. Think about this. People will pay $1,000 for an iPhone where they can get probably a similar Google phone for about $500. Why? Because they want this Apple logo. Because the reputation precedes Apple. People want to be associated with Apple. Same with watches. Why do people pay tens of thousands of dollars for a watch that just tells you time? I can buy a Casio for $90. It will do the same thing, maybe even more accurately. But it's the brand image. It's being associated with the type of customers that can afford these products. It becomes almost a circle of inclusivity. If you buy this product, you become part of that family. You become within that circle. And if you can pull that off with your product or service, where your customers will feel like if they buy from you, they will join a community of people, they will gain certain status, then you've done what you're supposed to do. And to maintain a high status, it's important to have that continuous quality and sponsoring top companies, influencers, and anything related to luxury. So no matter what product you have, always try to find an influencer or some kind of organization that you can collab with, or find a way to elevate your own brand, to put yourself next to them. Like I mentioned earlier, Rolls-Royce selling their cars at airplane shows and yacht shows. It instantly elevates. Instead of comparing their car to another car out there, it's immediately being compared to something that's worth tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. So by comparison, buying a car for 500,000 or $1 million doesn't seem like a big deal. And that segues me into the next topic, which is marketing and advertising. Consistency in marketing and advertising is crucial. You do not want to have a brand that's inconsistent. I remember I used to work for a memory manufacturer, and when I joined the company, and they were mislabeling their logos all over the place. There were different sizes, different colors, in different parts of the packaging, and that did not look like a luxury experience. The very first order of business was repositioning the logo on the packaging. We put it universally in the same spot on every package, so the eyes will always be drawn in the same spot. Furthermore, the logos became universally same size. And again, that consistency makes the product feel more luxurious. It elevates the brand. All the packaging, all of the logos, they have to look the same. You have to have a corporate branding style. Same colors, same sizes, same fonts, universally. Again, think Apple, think Rolls-Royce, and think Rolex. Every newspaper you're gonna look at, every magazine, on TV, on the internet, whenever you see their ad, they'll use the same fonts, they'll use the same colors, and they use the same logo, same size. It all looks universal, memorable, and recognizable. That is the key to having very good marketing campaign. And another important part of that advertising campaign is having clever messaging. It doesn't have to be very long or informative. It just has to laser focus on what your brand represents. Think of the taglines these companies employ. For example, for Rolex, it's a crown for every achievement. What does that tell you? That means when you accomplish something, you want to show that you have a Rolex, or vice versa. If you're wearing a Rolex, that means you've accomplished something. You're immediately associated with success. For Apple, it's think different. Remember, innovation. Their whole point is they're pushing products that are their own unique vision. It's not always the newest technology on the market, but it's their interpretation of how the technology should be used. iPhone was not the first smartphone, but it was the best smartphone when it came out. The way they interpret tablets and any other piece of technology that comes out, it always goes along with their slogan, think different. And lastly, for Rolls-Royce, their tagline is strive for perfection in everything you do. Think about that. Their messaging always tells you this is the best automobile possible. If you drive this automobile, that means you are a perfectionist. You appreciate quality, you appreciate craftsmanship, you appreciate luxury. And every ad you'll ever see from Rolls-Royce is going to be reinforcing that message. So to sum it up, good marketing and advertising is consistency, brand identity, and execution. Here's another secret. It's not enough to have the best product, the most quality product, if you do not have good customer service. If your product fails, which it does, no product is completely perfect. Even Rolls-Royce fails, Rolex fails, and Apple fails. And when they do fail, you have to mitigate that failure with quality customer service. In our own company, we make mistakes, even though we strive to provide the best service and product possible, but mistakes happen. So we're not going to deny those mistakes. We're going to own up to them and make it right by the customer. If you will drive up your Rolls-Royce that failed to the dealership and it's under warranty, guess what? They'll treat you like a king. They'll make you feel like it's the best experience possible. Think of flying in first class. Flying in an airplane is generally not a joyous experience, but when you fly in first class, it becomes an event. Same thing, you can turn a point of interaction with your customer for them to feel like they're flying in first class. When they interact with you, they feel like they're having a great experience. For example, in Rolls-Royce dealerships, they'll offer them champagne, they'll offer them quality snacks or food or services that they will feel like they're being pampered. And they quickly forget that the car broke down. That's why they had to come there in the first place. All they'll remember is the goodies that they received while the car was being prepared. When it comes to Apple, think of their Genius Bar. They have this network all over the world where you bring their product and you have experts that will repair it for you most of the time on the spot. It's that reassurance that you'll never be left hanging. If the product obviously is under warranty, they'll take care of you. You want to offer that guarantee of quality and craftsmanship no matter what you do. always guarantee your work and give them the best and utmost customer experience. Whenever you or your employees interact with your customer, make them feel like a VIP, make them feel like a king, and make it genuine. Don't just suck up to them. Truly interact with them with respect that every human deserves. And sure, good customer service doesn't come cheap. And owning up to the mistakes sometimes means like you making refunds or making exchanges that will ultimately cost you money. But that cost will help you increase the value of your brand and help you command higher prices for whatever goods or services that you sell. So in the end, it always pays off. The best return on investment is good image, and good image comes most of the time for quality customer service. And let's touch upon the last item that helps elevate these brands, and that is typically history and heritage. And sure, you cannot buy heritage and experience, that takes time, but just keep that on your radar. You're starting today. Who are you going to be in 10 years from now? Who are you going to be in 20 years from now? Build a legacy. Don't try to get rich quickly. Hard work takes time. Good image takes time. Good branding takes time. Reputation is very difficult to build and very easily destroyed. Rolls-Royce and Rolex both leverage that to the extreme. They'll talk about how their watches were 50 years ago, 7 years ago, and Rolls-Royce will talk about how their cars were built as early as the 1940s and 1930s, and they know what they're doing. And that is all true. The fact that they survived for so long and maintained that image is a testament to their success. So as you're starting or you already have an established business, just think long-term. Don't think about profits today. Think about what you can do in 10 years from now if you invest a lot of your time and efforts in maintaining image that will create heritage and give you the history that your competitors simply will not have. Once you have heritage and history, it's almost impossible to knock you down. That is one of those competitive advantages that just simply cannot be faked. You can be beat on quality, you can be beat on pricing, but it's much harder to beat somebody on heritage and history. Every innovative brand finds unique and clever ways how to elevate their brand. What's going to be in 2025 the most innovative way to promote your brand? Well, subscribe to our channel and watch this video and find out now.